Hi, I'm Asha, and you'll be able to catch me on the LITE Morning Breakfast show. And to find out a little bit more about me, not saying that you want to, but if you did want to, come with me as I take these little mutts for a walk. So, Graves' disease is an autoimmune disease, and we don't know how you get it, and there is no cure for it. Graves normally presents, or more obviously presents itself, with your thyroid becoming hyperactive. In some cases, it can be hypo when your hypothyroid runs out of steam and you go into the hypo stage, which is slow thyroid, which is when you tend to put on a lot of weight. When you have hypothyroid, you tend to lose a hell of a lot of weight, but that's kind of just one of the more obvious signs that something's going on. But Graves is underlying it. So Graves affects the thyroid, and it can affect your eyes as well, and you can have thyroid eye disease because of it. And how they treat it is they target the eyes and the thyroid. They try and fix those more obvious things that are causing really quite serious conditions or symptoms for the person. Unfortunately, that doesn't actually target the disease itself, the autoimmune disease itself, which is Graves. So when I was diagnosed with Graves, after having been sick for a couple of years and being on the borderline, so no one really checked my bloods properly to see what was happening, it was after we went into lockdown, and I fractured one foot after the other foot, and then I got shingles. Like, my immune system and my body was just like a mess. And when I was finally diagnosed, it was very interesting, the journey of having conversations with different doctors about how to manage the Graves, which is the autoimmune, and then the problem it causes, which is the hyperactive thyroid and all of the symptoms and problems that come with that. So it's I'm still digging. It's been 6 months. Thankfully, touching wood somewhere, touch wood, I am managing now really well on the medication that I'm getting. There's not a lot of medication you can take for this, so you're a bit stuffed if you react badly to it. So one of the medications, one of the two, I was severely allergic to, so that was kind of scary. But it is a journey that I'm just embarking on, and I'm looking at all sorts of different ways that I can boost my immune system to target the Graves, as well as deal with the thyroid at the same time. The treatments so far have been pretty mild, I suppose, compared to a lot of other people who have Graves. So I'm on medication. I'm on something called carbamazole. I couldn't take PTU, the other one. That was horrific. The allergic reaction was very severe. I couldn't breathe. It stopped me breathing, which was kind of scary. Especially during lockdown, when you kind of like, can I get to the hospital in time kind of thing. So I'm taking medication. I'm also having weekly acupuncture and glutathione shots, and I'm taking a whole load of supplements like lipoic vitamin C, which is super helpful. So, as I said, I'm just embarking on this journey, but I don't believe that the medicines are there and they're going to cure it, because the carbamazole, for example, targets the thyroid. It doesn't actually target the Graves itself. And so I'm working with acupuncture and with trusted alternative medicine doctors in alternative modalities that have been proven to boost the immune system, to help things. Like, for example, instead of taking medication for my tachycardia, I went down the acupuncture route, which actually was phenomenal. She is amazing, and she helped me on that, so I didn't have to take medication for my heart that was going crazy, beating like bonkers because of the Graves and thyroid. So that's what I'm doing so far, and touch wood, everything seems to be kind of getting to a more stable level, so that's kind of awesome. I'm doing good. Tired, but this is the problem when you get to sort of my age, right? You've got to deal with perimenopause or menopause. Is it menopause that's giving me brain fog, or is it the Graves, or is it a combination of everything, right? So I think I'm doing good. There is no such thing as equating tired with Graves tired. If you have Graves disease, you're tired. It's like jet lag exhaustion. So that's one of the key things that I still suffer from. So nobody call me after the show, because I'm probably going to be in some corner somewhere with JD's cap covering my face, having a snooze. Yeah. Well, excitingly, we've got a segment that JD's called Brimful of Asha. What that's going to be, a veritable cornucopia of delights. You're just going to have to tune in and find out. That's going to be probably as odd as my brain is odd. Don't get me wrong, I love my odd brain. And then we're going to have something that's to do with gardening. But basically, one of the things that I've grown to love that's kept me sane and actually makes me feel better whilst I've been in recovery and just sort of dealing with not only the COVID but also my health, has been learning to garden. So I know a lot of people are actually sad that they commit planticide, like me. I commit planticide a lot. That's when you murder plants no matter how much you try and look after it. So we're going to do something on that because that's brought me a hell of a lot of joy, and I think it's a really good thing mental health wise to actually have a show about that, and so I'm super excited. We're also going to have obviously stuff or resurgence of stuff that's to do with sort of what's happening in the world and our take on it, which may or may not be helpful to you, but we'll find out, I think. So that's kind of a gist of some of the things we're starting to do. And JD, of course, old hat, he's got a lot of things up his sleeve. So I'm looking forward to that. I am first and foremost super excited about getting up early because there's something quite magical, and you only feel this in production or broadcasting and stuff when you get up at odd hours where the world is sort of still asleep or supposed to still be asleep. So there's something oddly magical about that appeals to me, so I love that idea. I also love the idea of working with JD and just having someone to bounce off with work. That's always nice. So you don't always get that opportunity when you're on radio or even on telly. It's, you know, it's wonderful to have it all to yourself, but it's also sometimes even more marvelous to have sort of someone there. And I just love radio. I love the format of it, and to be able to go back to one of my great loves. I think the whole thing and sort of the stories, the human aspect of stuff, talking about people and what's going on in the world, that's just bloody marvelous. We're gonna have to change a lot of things up, you know. There can only be one person who tells terrible jokes, and that's gonna be me. So JD's gonna have to get himself a proper sense of humor so I can be the dad joke giver. We can only have one person who's semi-stylish. I'll let JD have that because, as you can tell, I pretty much slob out most of the time, so he can have the diva queen outlook. I'll make sure not to show him up and to sort of like be obedient to him because he's the man and he's going to lead. I don't know, JD, all I can say is the compassionate side of me feels very sorry for him, but I'm sure there's aspects of me he'll learn to love and enjoy having the company of at the same time. So sorry, mate, but it's gonna be lovely to work with you. Definitely my loud laugh is not going anywhere. I'll do my best to keep my potty mouth clean. I don't know, sense of humor, different perspective perhaps. I mean, I think, you know, having worked with so many vastly different sort of people, whether it's in TV land or radio land or in my work, my therapy work, I'm just really curious about people. I'm very curious about things. I'm not curious about how you want to fight with that dog though. Indeed. I actually need a dog trainer. If anyone knows a dog trainer who wants to come help me train my dogs, I'd really like that. I've been told that like every Friday is Nasi Lemak Day. Yeah.